So I've created a new Angular project using Angular CLI, and I call this project pepper-auth0. Now here in terminal, there are a couple of node packages we need to install first. So npm install save auth0-lock. So this is the main auth0 library. We also need to install angular2-jwt. So this is a basic library for adding support to work with JSON Web Tokens in an Angular 2 app. If you head over to jwt.io, you can see there are various libraries for different platforms. So in this case, we're going to use angular2-jwt. Now I'm going to copy one line of code from our auth0 control panel. So go to the clients and then select the app, Pepper. Then go to the Quick Start tab. Scroll down. You can see a reference to auth0-lock package that we installed. Below that, we've got a script reference. So copy this line. Now back in VS Code, open up index.html and add that script reference near the end of the body section. Like that. Okay, now we go to the project folder. Under app, create a new file. Let's call that auth.service.ts. So we're going to encapsulate all the functionality about authentication in this service. First, I'm going to import injectable from @angular/core. Simply export the class. Let's call it auth and decorate it with injectable decorator. Now, this auth0-lock library that we imported is written in JavaScript, and it doesn't have type definitions for TypeScript. So we need to declare a variable and call it auth0-lock and set its type to any. With this, we can work with this object in our class without getting TypeScript compilation errors. All right, now I'm going to declare a field called lock and set it to a new instance of auth0-lock that we declared earlier. Now here in the constructor, we need to supply 3 arguments. The first one is our client ID. So back in our management dashboard, in the list of clients, here's Pepper. You can see the client ID here. Copy and paste it here. Now the second argument is your domain. And this is the domain that you registered as part of signing up on auth0. If you forgot what you set, you can come back here, go to the Pepper app on the settings page. You can find the domain here. So copy and paste it here. And the third argument is just an empty object. So we simply create an auth0-lock object, and this is going to be our entry point to work with auth0. Now I'm going to create a constructor. In this constructor, I'm going to subscribe to an event raised by this lock object. So this.lock.on, the name of the event is authenticated. Here we add auth result goes to code block. So this event is raised when the user logs into our application. At this point, we have our JWT or JSON Web Token inside this auth result object. So we want to store it in our local storage. So local storage, set item, give it a key, ID underline token. And the value for that is auth result dot ID token. Now I'm going to show you this JWT in a second, so don't worry if all this looks unfamiliar to you. Next, I'm going to declare a public method and call it login. And in this method, we're going to call this.log.show. So this will show the login widget of auth0. We don't have to build a login screen. I'm also going to create another method here and call it isAuthenticated. So we can call this method to see if the user is logged in or not and make different decisions. For example, we can show or hide different parts of a page or prevent access to a route if the user is not authenticated. Now, inside this method, I'm going to call one of the helper functions in Angular 2-JWT module. I'm going to import token not expired. This is a function that returns a Boolean. So every JSON web token has an expiry. So this function will look at our local storage, find our JWT, decode it, look at its expiry, and if it's not expired, it will return true. So we import this from Angular 2-JWT. And in isAuthenticated method, we simply call this method and return its value to the caller. Now finally, we need one more method, logout. And in this method, I'm going to remove the item we added in our local storage. So local storage dot remove item ID underline token. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating an abstraction on top of auth0. So these simple methods we have here, like login, isAuthenticated, and logout, they simply delegate to auth0 or Angular 2-JWT library. So the rest of my application simply uses these methods and is not aware how authentication is implemented. If in the future I decide to replace auth0 with another service, the rest of my application is not impacted. In our components, we simply call login, logout, and isAuthenticated. We don't care what's happening inside these methods. All right, our service is ready. Now we need to register it as a provider. So we go to app.module, import it here. I'm also going to import auth underline providers. It's an array from Angular 2-JWT. And then register them both here. So auth and auth underline providers. Now I just want to show you this service we created here. We could just go and copy this code from our management dashboard in auth0, but I decided to write it line by line so you know exactly how it works and why we implement it this way. In your future apps, you can simply go to your client app in auth0 and under Quick Start tab, if you scroll down, you can see the sample code for this auth service. This is exactly what we have implemented in this lecture. So you can simply copy paste this. And it also has your client ID and your domain here. All right, our service is ready. Next, we're going to use this in one of our components.